Hi there, I'm Helga DeSousa. I'm a seasoned project manager with Helga DeSousa Consulting. I help project managers and I help those who are taking on the role. So, today I want to talk about four, or actually, no, five, and I've written them down. Five habits of an effective project manager. So, let me list them. First is to be which is obvious is the strong communicator. You need to be a strong communicator, and you also need to ensure that when you're communicating, you're catering it to the right audience. So if it's a non-technical group, you're going to use layman terms. If it's a technical team, you'll use some of the jargon that you're that's within that industry. If it's the execs, of course, you're going to keep it pretty high level and to the point so that they're not bogged down by details. And also with your working level team, you obviously will be speaking to them to details. So also be clear and concise and not go off into tangents. So be very clear with your purpose with the project and also note who you are speaking to. So the next one is, and I wrote this down, is set boundaries. Now, a project manager, a senior project manager that I worked under a while back, once told me that the one thing that you need to do is to defend your borders. And what she's talking about is to protect your scope. Of course, there will be times where, business will come in and it's something that, that has to be rushed and it is necessary to add. That's when you go back and do your assessment with your teams, see, if it's going to be added cost, what does that mean to your schedule, and so forth, and present that to the business so that they can make an informed decision about whether or not this is indeed worth extending the schedule, worth extending the cost, and so forth. So that is to keep in mind. But of course, defend those borders. The other thing is vouch for your resources, especially if your resources are going to be are going to be loaded with another priority. And of course, it's always a common theme where there's going to be competing priorities. So speak up. Also vouch for your resources, negotiate with the other business units or with the other project manager, okay? So second thing is set those boundaries. Push back where needed, of course, but in a nice way. Next piece is be organized. I've known quite a few people that just run projects ad hoc, and they're not seasoned, they're not project managers, but they just go with the fly. They go off on the fly with, notes and stuff like that. And then what ends up is there's chaos because nobody has any track of what's going on. So very important that you keep yourself organized, keep to the PMI practices. Please have that charter. Please, if it's not a charter, if you're agile, you have your backlog with the pieces of work that you're going to have in that epic. So be very clear, use those tools that are at your disposal. The other piece is make sure you have the artifacts. If you're waterfall, make sure you also are tracking those risks. You have that stakeholder, you have that raid log, you have an action item list, okay? And then if you're on the other side where you're doing agile, of course you have your backlog. Make sure your stories are clear. You have an objective, there's an acceptance criteria, you know who it's being assigned to, and so forth. So be very organized. Use those tools and update them and be on top of it, okay? The next piece, which is usually hard with a lot of project managers, is be flexible, okay? Again, when, there'll be times when a resource is not able to make a certain due date. If there's room in the schedule, then be flexible and allow them that slack if it's within the schedule. If it's not, then we'd be looking at, negotiating for resources, or we'd be looking at, a change request if needed. So these are things to think about, okay? So be flexible. It's okay. It's not going to, no project. I don't think there's many projects that always go with the original target date, sometimes very close, but most times there's a lot of moves of dates. And it's pretty common because there's always going to be things that are not within your control. Like, for instance, a government regulation that's come in that you have to speed up the process, or maybe there be a vendor that's gone out of business. There could be factors that are not within your control where you would have to adjust accordingly. So be open to that. And lastly, which I think is the most important aspect of being an effective project manager, is relationship building. Build that rapport, build that trust. And the way you build that trust is you model. You fulfill your promises. You say you're going to deliver something, you will. You say you're going to get back to somebody, you will. You say you're going to set up that meeting, you will do it. You say that you're going to deliver a piece of work, you will do it, okay? And at the same time, also get to know your team members. Get to know them one-on-one. Get to know what their needs are, okay? And help them in that regard. Coach them and mentor them. And then with the cross-functional team, keep the communication lines open. Be very transparent. When things go wrong, you tell your business when something's going wrong. But instead of them panicking, before you come to them, obviously present them with possible options and solutions so they know that you are thinking about ways of, resolving it and moving the project forward. So keep those lines open, be transparent, and also be approachable and be a people person if you can. Just please. That's the essence, being a people person. Anyway, hopefully that's helpful with you for those 5 elements. And keep going. And if you need any coaching, go to my website. And also, there are some free templates that you can use and some AI prompts that can make your life a little bit easier. So enjoy, have a great day, and keep going. Take care.